Hi everybody, this is your grammar video for the Grammar 5.2 section in Capítulo 5. So now we're going to talk about the present tense of stem changing verbs, which again is on textbook page 156, and we're all going to pretend that I didn't just misspell the word present. Anyway, look away. We already discussed stem changing verbs at some length in the slideshow, which that will link you off of it if you are in my class and you have the actual slideshow. In the slideshow and video that covered pensar, querer, and preferir. So we're going to begin by briefly revisiting those verbs. All those verbs stem change in the same way in the present tense. They all have E to IE stem changes. How do we know, by the way, if a verb stem changes? It's easy. The textbook tells us. Otherwise, we would have absolutely no way of knowing, okay? So if the textbook tells you it's a verb stem changes, it stem changes. If it tells you nothing, then it doesn't, okay? All right. How do we know what kind of stem change a verb has? Again, also easy. The textbook gives us that information. So when you were presented with pensar, querer, and my highlighting skills are not on point today, preferir, the book not only told you that they stem changed, but they told you that all of them had an E to IE stem change. Okay? Okay. It is your responsibility to memorize which verbs have stem changes and what kind of stem changes they have, though. That is all on you. Okay? I'm going to keep saying okay a lot. So let's go back and conjugate E to IE stem changing verbs in the present with a T tense. As always, when we conjugate, we're only concerned with two things. Say it with me, stem and ending. That's right. So remember, with stem changing verbs, what makes them special is that instead of leaving the stem alone after we derive it, and of course we always derive a stem by removing the AR, ER, or IR infinitive ending, whenever the subject is not nosotros with these verbs, we change the stem vowel in a certain way. This also happens in vosotros forms, but we don't use vosotros forms in this course, so we are completely unconcerned with them. Once that special change is made to the stem, when the subject is not nosotros, we then add the right conjugated, guess what, ending for the sentence's subject. And that's how we conjugate stem changing verbs in the present tense. Again, for regular stem changing verbs, the only form that doesn't show a stem change is the nosotros form. And we already saw this, right? Here's our infinitive, pensar. Here's our stem, PENS. And oh, look, nothing happens to it in the nosotros form. That E stays E. And all we do is add the ending amos, and we have pensamos. No stem change. Same thing with a new infinitive that we're getting now. We were given the verb cerrar, right? And we were told that this verb has a stem change. However, that stem change is never going to show in the nosotros form. Here's our stem. It's unchanged, right? It's same as in the infinitive. And to that unchanged stem, we add the amos nosotros form ending, and we get cerramos. No change to the stem vowel. Same thing with our new verb, empezar, right? We are not going to change this stem vowel when we conjugate for the subject nosotros. So we derive the stem by removing our AR infinitive ending. Here's that stem. We leave it alone for the nosotros form, and all we do is add this conjugated ending, and that gives us the form empezamos. No change to the stem. Same thing with what we already saw, right? We already have querer, so we know we derive that stem by removing the ER infinitive ending, and then for nosotros, we leave that stem the heck alone and just add the EMOS conjugated ending to it. Here you see that, and that gives us the correct nosotros form, queremos. We have two new verbs that do this. So we have perder. Your book tells you that it stem changes. But again, this stem change will never show in the present tense nosotros form. So we derive our stem, there it is, cut that ER infinitive ending off. And to this unchanged stem, we add the EMOS, nosotros form ending, of course, because this is an ER verb, right? And that gives us the nosotros form, perdemos. No problem. Finally, another new verb that we got, this verb does stem change. And stem change is E to IE like every other verb on this page. But for the nosotros form, all we do is derive the stem by removing the ER infinitive ending. Here's that stem. We leave it alone for the nosotros form and just add our nosotros form ending for this ER verb, which is hemos. And that's encendemos, the correct nosotros form. Okay? In all other four present tense forms, when the subject is yo, when the subject is tú, or when the subject is third person singular or third person plural, for these verbs, all of which stem change E to IE, that stem change has to happen before we can add a conjugated ending. Once that stem change is made, then we add the right conjugated ending for the sentence's subject. So let's look at our new verb cerrar, right? And we're going to see now the four forms where the stem E changes to an IE. So here's the yo form. Cierro, right? Here's our changed stem. The E became an IE, and to that we add the conjugated ending O. Cierro. Same thing with the tú form. Here it is. Cierras, right? We have our changed stem where the E became an IE. To this changed stem, we add the tú form ending, AS, and we get the whole form. Cierras. We have our third person singular form. Cierra, right? Again, we see our changed stem. The E became an IE. Do you see that? To that changed stem, we add the third person singular conjugated ending, which is the letter A, and we get cierra, all right? And, of course, we also have our third person plural form, which is cierran. Here's our changed stem. The E in the stem, right, became an IE. To that changed stem, we add the conjugated third person plural ending, AN, and altogether, changed stem plus correct ending for this third person plural subject gives us the form cierran, cierran, all right? And let's look also at our new ER verb, perder, and this one is going to stem change E to IE2, okay? It's going to seem like old hat. So our yo form is pierdo. And look, our stem E became an IE, and then we added our conjugated ending O. Same thing, here's our tú form, pierdes. Right here, the E in the stem became an IE, and then we added our conjugated ending, ES, and we had the right form. Quickly looking at our third person singular form, look at it, it's pierde. The E in the stem changed into an IE, right? Right there. And to that changed stem, we added our conjugated ending for third person singular subjects when we have an ER verb, that's the letter E, and pierde, there's the form. Finally, third person plural form, pierden, right? Again, the stem E changed to an IE, and to that changed stem, we added the EN third person plural ending. Stem plus ending, it's still how we conjugate, and that gave us pierden. Okay, so there are two other major types of stem changes in the language. There are E to I stem changes, and there are O to UE stem changes. O to UE stem changes do have a subtype, U to UE, but it is very uncommon. It only occurs in the verb jugar and the verbs that are created by adding a prefix to the verb jugar, like conjugar, the verb for to conjugate. At any rate, we're going to look at the O to UE stem change now. Now, as always, when we are conjugating, the nosotros form will not show a stem change. So let's take a look at our new verb, almorzar. Its nosotros form starts, of course, with the stem. That's how we always start. We derive our stem by removing the AR infinitive ending. So here is our stem. And we are not going to change the O in the stem because we're going to have the nosotros form. And we know that there's never a stem change in nosotros. To this unchanged stem, ALMORZ, all we do is add the nosotros form ending amos. And that's it. Stem plus ending equals conjugation. This gives us the present tense nosotros form, almorzamos. That's it. It's easy. It really is stem plus ending, just like all conjugation. So let's look at the four forms of our new AR verb almorzar, where the stem O is going to change to a UE. Oh my goodness. Hey, you guys want to see how my edit function works? It's just like this. Wow, I proofed this too. Sorry, guys. The stem O changes to a UE. Yes, it does. Oh my goodness. Fortunately, these are right. All right, so with our stem O changing to a UE, what happens with the yo form? Well, here we have our changed stem, right? Take off that AR infinitive ending. The O in the stem became a UE. So our new stem is ALMURZ. To that changed stem, we add an O and we get the full correct yo form, almuerzo. Almuerzo. Oh, by the way, there is no Z sound in Spanish, in Latin American Spanish, which is what we are studying. The sound of the letter Z and the sound of the letter S are identical, and they both always sound like the S. So please don't say almuerzo for this verb. There's no Z. It's an S sound. It's S, okay? Almuerzo, almuerzo. All right, here's our to form. Again, we see that the O in the stem has become a UE. You can see it right here. So there's our changed stem. To that changed stem, we add the correct to form ending for all AR verbs in the present tense, which is AS, and that gives us almuerzas, almuerzas. Same thing with our third person singular form. We have to change our stem O to a UE, right there. To that changed stem, then we add our third person singular conjugated ending for AR verbs in the present tense, which is just the letter A. And that gives us the full form, almuerza, almuerza, okay? Lastly, third person plural form. How did we get here? The same way as the rest. We derived our stem by removing the AR infinitive ending. That gave us our base stem, ALMORZ. We changed the O in that stem to a UE. That gave us our changed stem, ALMUERZ. If I could read letters, that would be spectacular. To that changed stem where the O became a UE, then we add the correct conjugated ending for AR verbs when the subject is third person plural in the present tense, and that is AN. So change stem right here plus correct conjugated ending gives us our third person plural form, almuerzan, almuerzan, okay? So let's try a few conjugations with our new verbs. See textbook page 156, by the way. So we're going to work with perder for the subject Pablo, and this verb stem changes E to IE. We're going to work again with the verb almorzar. We're going to do it for the subject los chicos. This verb stem changes O to UE. Okay? We're going to work with the verb jugar for the subject tú. This verb stem changes U to UE. We're going to work with the verb encender, which stem changes E to IE, with the subject yo. And of course, because none of these subjects are nosotros, all of these stem changes are going to show. Oh, and we're also going to work with the verb dormir. This one stem changes O to UE, and we're going to do that for the subject noun, hija. All right? All right. One at a time. So, conjugating the verb perder for the subject Pablo. First thing, as always, derive the stem by removing the ER infinitive ending. Step 2, decide if this verb will stem change. Well, the subject is not nosotros, it's Pablo. And so because the subject is not nosotros, we know the stem change will happen. Great. Let's change the E in the stem to an IE. Awesome. This is our new changed stem. To this changed stem, add the conjugated ending E, which is our third person singular ending for ER verbs, because we have a third person singular subject, Pablo. Altogether, this gives us success, the right conjugated form, pierde, which consists simply of changed stem pierd plus right conjugated ending e, pierde. Remember the sound of the E in Spanish is A, please, ladies and gentlemen. That's all there is to it. It's stem and ending. Let's keep going. We're going to conjugate the verb almorzar, stem changes O to UE, for the subject chicos. Great. First things always, derive the stem by removing the AR infinitive ending. There you go. There's your base stem, ALMORZ. Step 2, decide if the stem change will happen. Well, the subject is not nosotros, it's chicos. Since the subject is not nosotros, yes, our stem change is going to happen. Change the stem. Our new change stem is ALMUERZ. Great. The O in the stem became a UE. Perfect. To this change stem, then, step 4 is to add the conjugated A ending AN for our third person plural subject, chicos, right? AN is the third person plural conjugated ending for all AR verbs in the present tense. So, what does that give us? That gives us success. To our change stem, ALMUERZ, we add the correct third person plural present tense ending, AN, and altogether that becomes almuerzan, the correct form. All right? It really is just stem plus ending. Let's keep going. Here's our next one. We're going to conjugate the verb jugar for the subject tú. This verb stem changes U to UE. This is our special subset, right? Okay. Step 1, same. Derive the stem by removing the AR infinitive ending. Step 2, decide whether the U to UE stem change will happen. We do that by looking at our subject and we just ask, hey, is that nosotros? And if the answer is no, then the stem change is going to happen. The subject here is not nosotros. That means the stem change, yes, will occur. So change the U in the stem to a UE. Great. This is our change stem. To this change stem, we add the correct present tense ending for the subject tú, which is AS. And altogether, success. Change stem JUEG plus conjugated ending AS gives you juegas, the correct tú form of this verb in the present tense. Awesome. Let's keep going. Now we're going to work with the verb encender. This verb stem changes E to IE. So the first thing we do is derive our stem by removing our ER infinitive ending, right? And you might be freaking out right now because you're like, oh God, there's 2 E's here. Which one's going to change? No, don't be afraid. It is always the last remaining vowel in the stem that will show the change, all right? But before we do any of that, we have to decide whether the stem change will happen. And to do that, we look at the subject and we realize our subject is not yo, so our stem change will yes occur. Or S occur. There we go. Yes, let's highlight the whole thing. So we change the stem. The second E becomes an IE. See that? That's our change stem. To this change stem, we add the correct ending for the subject yo, which is O, right? And now, success. Change stem, enciende, plus correct present tense ending for subject yo, which is O. Stem plus ending gives you, of course, the correct conjugated form, enciendo. This is the present tense yo form of this verb. One last example. The verb dormir. This verb stem changes O to UE in the present tense. So what do? No surprise at all. I really do want you guys to get used to following a process when you conjugate, because that means you don't have to memorize. If you know the process to do, you just do it, right? Rather than relying on rote memorization, which is a brain drain and not necessary. So first step, as always, derive your stem by removing the IR infinitive ending. This gives us our base stem. Next, decide if the stem change will happen. To do this, look at your subject and say, okay, is that nosotros? No, it is not. Since the subject is not nosotros, yes, the stem change will happen. So we change the O in the stem to a UE. Here's our change stem. It's to this change stem that we can add the conjugated ending, and that is step 4. To add the correct conjugated ending for our third person singular subject, hija, and that ending is the letter E, the third person singular ending for all IR verbs in the present tense. Right? So to the change stem DUERM, we add the conjugated ending E, and altogether that gives us success. It gives us duerme, the correct present tense third person singular form that agrees with this third person singular subject, hija. Mi hija duerme, duerme. Change stem plus ending. That's how we conjugate. All right, so that is how to conjugate stem changing verbs in Spanish in the present tense. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Take care.